This conference will now be recorded.
You should have received several documents. We're not going to take time and fill those out, but we want you to have those documents to look at tonight as we're going through the information, and then to take them back to your clubs as a resource that you guys can use to work on either updating your club or developing your new club. So with that, let's get into the slides. We'll start with introductions. To the right of your screen, you'll see my picture. My name is Mark Hildesheim. I'm one of NOHVC's project managers. Live up in Idaho, lifetime dirt biker, where I belong to several clubs, including the Brush Bunch Motorcycle Club, North Idaho ATV Association, High Mountain Trail Machine Association, the Idaho Trail Machine Association, as well as recently the Idaho State Snowmobile Association.
Good evening. I'm Jack Terrell. I'm one of the NOHVC project managers. I'm based in Florida. I've been a member of the NOHVC staff since 2005. And from 1994 to 2004, I was the volunteer Florida state partner for NOHVC and also a member of the NOHVC board of directors. I'm an off-highway motorcycle competitor and trail riders, also enjoy a side-by-side. I've been a member and officer of a local motorcycle ATV club and a member and officer of Florida Trail Riders, which is our state motorcycle and ATV association. My NOHVC duties include project management, network development, partner assistance, and various workshops that we conduct across the country.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Chain. I'm the new member on staff. I joined last year in the summertime. I'm a project coordinator and communications specialist with NOHVC. I live in Prescott, Arizona. I'm actually an Arizona native. I got my start riding moto trials when I was about 9, and then kind of moved into enduro riding about 8 years ago. Member of the Coconino Trail Riders and the Prescott Trail Riders. I've also been active with Central Arizona Trials, like I said, for 20 years. Previous work was in GIS for the U.S. Geological Survey, but I pretty much enjoy anything outdoors, off-road, hiking, mountain biking, rock climbing, do a little bit of everything. Okay, so with that, we're going to kind of move straight into some of our slides, and the first one we're going to discuss is why do people want to join an OHV club? And one of the main reasons is, first of all, is strength in numbers. You can really kind of achieve a lot more if you have a united voice and you have kind of a big group with everyone on the same page. And not only that, but one of the big things for me when I first kind of got involved in clubs and trail advocacy was just trying to figure out where to ride and who I could ride with. When I moved to Flagstaff about 8 years ago, it was my first time with an enduro bike. Didn't really know anybody. Was new to the area, but I knew they had a good club that was doing a lot of work with the Forest Service up there. They're doing trail maintenance days. They had just started working on building new trail, and they're doing club rides. So it was a real great opportunity for me to kind of get involved, especially with some of the trail work that we started doing. I really liked giving back to the community, helping the Forest Service out, helping maintain and build some of the trails that I started using. And like I said, it was a great way to meet people, most of whom I'm all still friends with. I don't go to the meetings as regularly, but I'm still an active member. But it was a great opportunity, and that's one of the biggest draws for me when I first moved up there. And also, like I said, with that kind of united voice, you can really start working with the land managers. Coconino Trail Riders have been around for a long time, but they built a relationship with the Forest Service there, which has helped get them new trails. It's developed new riding opportunities. It's the trust that's really been created that has really helped them move as far as they can. If you're just trying to do this, as an individual or a few different people, it's really hard to kind of make a difference like that. But they've put 40 miles of new single track on the ground just in the last 2 years, and that's just from having a really good club membership base and really working with the land managers. Another advantage is that you can compile and leverage your funds and resources. Here in Arizona, at least, and in a lot of other states, we have OHV sticker fund that state parks administers, but basically whenever you register a bike, $25 goes into a fund, and clubs and land agencies can draw from that fund. So that's primarily how a lot of our trail systems are funded and developed. Everything in Flagstaff and here in Prescott's pretty much been funded through that. And the club can draw for those grants. There's other opportunities like the RTP grants. Polaris and Yamaha also have grant opportunities for clubs and nonprofits. So that's a really big perk, is you can actually get some funding available to help you get stuff on the ground. Kind of like I said, camaraderie, that's big. You can meet a lot of different people that have kind of like-minded interests and hobbies. Like I said, I know a lot of the same people. I ride with club members that I met 8 years ago. To this day, we still, pretty much touch base on a weekly basis. So yeah, just having that kind of, that really fun atmosphere is really a great way to join a club. And that's what it says at the very bottom, fun. And that's really what it's about, is we're out here operating our OHVs to have fun. It's good exercise. It's a great family sport. It's a great way to meet lifelong friends. And of course, we want to also promote safe and responsible OHV use. This is a big mission of NOVAC, and is also, like I said, a great way to build that trust and relationship with land managers. Or if you're somewhere else and you have private lands to deal with, whoever's nearby, having a really good club that has a good reputation is a great way to kind of promote that safe and responsible OHV use.
If you're thinking about starting a club, or if you're trying to rejuvenate a club, or if you're looking to start an association, one of the things that you need to do is you need to ask yourself the question, what makes clubs successful, and what do you define, and what core people, the people that are trying to organize the club and maintain the club, what do they define as being success? And that can take a lot of different forms. Obviously, one definition of success would be to attract and motivate members. And obviously, to do that, you need to provide a value or benefits to the members. Another thing that's normally listed as being, what makes it a success, is to provide off-highway vehicle riding opportunities. In a lot of areas of the country, there are no really readily available areas where you can go ride an OHV. There are many people that look to join a club really are looking for social opportunities. In other words, the ability to get together with people and enjoy activities and that type of thing. Another definition of success for an OHV club might be increased positive visibility in the community. Are you fostering a positive image in the community? And when I say the community, I'm saying not only the community of enthusiasts, but the community of non-OHV enthusiasts, other recreation enthusiasts, and also your surrounding town or county or that type of thing. You may define success for your club with the fact that you've expanded in influence with land managers and public officials, and you have been able to develop long-standing partnerships with land managers that result in better trail opportunities or increased trail opportunities. And you really need to look hard and say, what have been some of the successes of other clubs that you've been involved with, or for that matter, other organizations. And those could break down into things like promoting trail rides and fun events. It could be competition events. There are many clubs that exist just to put on competition events. It might be that your club has been able to maintain partnerships with the Forest Service or BLM or land managers that have allowed you to improve the quality of trails, to maintain those trails. You may have been able to influence legislation, and an example of that would be that you may have been able to start up an OHV program in your state, found funding for it, and have been able to set up a grant program that would allow funds to clubs to be able to maintain trails in their area. course, the other thing as far as, what successful activities could a club have would be the fact that they would be able to receive grants to assist in maintaining trails. And I think, again, that you, as one of the core leaders or promoters of the club, you need to let people know what you've learned in similar clubs or similar organizations. And again, we need to mention the fact that for club to be a success, they need to provide some value to members, and they need to provide a fun experience. I know Jeff mentioned that in his part of the presentation, but I've seen a lot of clubs that have been done very, very well, and then all of a sudden the fun goes out of the organization, and all of a sudden the club starts losing members and isn't successful. Next slide.
Okay, one of the first steps that you need to take is deciding what kind of club you are going to be. And with that, we don't mean, are you going to be an ATV only or a side-by-side only club or a dirt bike club? That's important, but it's also important to find a corporate identity. And then by this, we mean, are you going to be a nonprofit, such as a 501c3 or C4 or C7? Are you going to be a for-profit entity? When you're determining this, it's important to consult with legal professionals to determine what works best for you. You're going to want to do a lot of research to find out, how do I fill out the paperwork? Who do I report to? What grant programs only allow applicants to be, say, 501c3s. So make sure you don't bind yourself to something that doesn't work for your organization. If you're going to be lobbying, that's something you need to look into and decide before you file for your corporate identity. One way to get some information on this particular subject is to visit this website on the screen, www.councilofnonprofits.org. And that will link to your state and show you who is the nonprofit office in your state. Every state has an entity that helps set up and maintain nonprofits. And through this councilofnonprofits.org, you can find out who in your state will help you through that process. Once you've actually formed the club, there will be reporting requirements either through the state or federal government. It's important to keep up on those. One thing we've seen with clubs is that officers transition and things don't get passed on. People forget to turn in their reports and they end up losing their corporate identity, their nonprofit status, or whatever else they have filed for. These are all significant investments and it costs more money to get things started back up. So it's not something you want to get behind with. Keep up with them, make sure they're filed, and make sure you're filing the right ones. Next slide.
Okay, now we're going to talk about vision statements. And your vision is kind of like your dream. Jack's going to talk a little bit about what your mission is, which differs from this, but your vision is what you can achieve if you kind of have the ideal conditions for your community. So really, if you have an issue, how would that look if it was completely and perfectly addressed? And one example of this is back in Flagstaff and CTR again, they kind of had this dream of having a trail that went around the mountain system there that had existed before a travel management rule made it illegal, but it was always in their long-term plan to try and get that trail back. And so they started working with the Forest Service years ago, started coming up with a plan, got funding to do NEPA analysis on the area, but it's been a 10-year project for them already, and now they're starting to actually get momentum on it. Like so they got money to actually do some analysis, put it together a project plan. Forest Service is on board with moving forward on it. But in the meantime, they had other goals as well, but this was kind of a long distance vision for them. And a big dream is to create that loop that went around the peaks again and be, a 100-mile loop that connected some smaller communities together, provided multiple staging and camping areas. So really a big system trail. And that was a big goal. So that's like a big vision that you can have. And you want something like this, it's typically, not too far in the future. that it's unobtainable and you lose interest, or your club members lose interest and motivation, but something that's far enough out that you can't just get there really fast and then figure out what you're trying to do next. And so what you kind of have to do is pick a vision for your organization. Is this an overall vision that you have, or is it just for a particular segment of your organization? And with that, you can kind of hone in on your time frame, and maybe you'll pick a few different ones that you might want to do. One that's fairly easy to get to, as maybe only a couple of years, and then you'll have a big vision, a big dream to have. Let me do the next slide. And then continuing on that, so what are some of the accomplishments that you might be proud of? This may be with your club, this may be some of the other clubs, or maybe it's just something that you've done or some other club members have done in the community. And how can you build on those successes and keep moving forward on it? And so you'll see, if you looked at the attachments we gave you, that we kind of have a template for you to use to write a first draft of your vision. So once you kind of come up with what your vision is, you can review it, create another one, and then with that, you can solicit input from your other members in the club. And so once you get that, then you might want to also ask and see what some other clubs near you have done. Maybe they kind of have a similar vision or are doing similar work to you. Don't be afraid to reach out to other clubs that have had successes and try and tap into that. And then with that, if you're working with some local land agencies, the U.S. Forest Service or BLM, or maybe it's some private land, try and get their feedback as well. If you're going to be working with them a lot, then you definitely want to be on the same page. And that'll really kind of help get you started on a good vision overall, and hopefully excite some of your club members and yourself, and really start dreaming on what you want to achieve with your club. And so this is a vision statement, and I won't read it word for word, but basically what it says is that, well, your club might promote, shared leadership and the ability to strengthen organizations at a local level. Focus could be on forming new OHV groups, offering help to existing ones, and of course, we always want to promote a positive image in anything we're doing. Also establishing a communications network and sharing successes with other clubs and individuals. Also committed to providing educational programs and materials for youth and adults, and to encourage awareness of the impact that we have on the sport and industry as a whole. So that's just an example of a vision statement that you can kind of, get ideas from and maybe use part of it that'll be relevant to your club.
Well, as Jeff indicated, the vision statement is a statement of what the ideal conditions are, whereas the mission statement is more of the what and the how and the why. It describes what the organization is going to do and why the organization is going to do it. So basically, you need to sit down and determine what is it that your organization is going to do. Is it going to provide riding opportunities, and who is going to be included in your organization? And for example, if you are going to be a state association and you're attempting to, your mission statement is to present a unified voice at the state level for OHV recreationists, you need to be sure that you identify who those groups are. In other words, are you speaking for motorcycles or ATVs or side-by-sides or four-wheel drives or all of them? And it's important that you identify that. If it's your goal, if what you wish to be doing is to be developing and providing a local riding area, then you need to spell that out. You need to identify that. If you're going to be developing working relationships with land managers, again, you need to be defining that. Or if you're working to improve public image by becoming a community asset, again, you need to be defining that as you are organizing and setting up your club or your association. One of the things that's extremely important as you are doing that is that there are 4 key elements in developing a mission statement. And basically, does it provide value? And when you say value, is it providing value to the enthusiasts? Is it providing it to families? Is it providing it to the community? Is it providing value to people that are outside of the OHV community? And is it providing value to land managers? You need to define what the value is. You need to keep that in mind. When we talk about inspirational, I think there what we're talking about, your mission statement has to be motivational. It needs to be motivational so that it will attract and keep members. It is extremely important that if your members are passionate about an aspect of OHV recreation, you need to be giving a motivational message to them that they should be in this club, and if they join this club, they will be able to participate in what they have a passion for. We also talk about keeping the mission statement plausible. It needs to be realistic. It needs to be achievable. It cannot be pie in the sky. It needs to be realistic. And the last of those 4 key elements is that it must be specific. If the mission of your organization is to provide trail riding and fun events, you need to say that. You need to be specific about it. If your club is going to be a club that basically focuses on competition events, that needs to be part of your mission statement, because what you will find is you may attract people and they find out very quickly that, well, what your passion is may not be their passion. So you need to be very, very specific about that. So you need to find a key theme, and you need to make sure that your mission statement revolves around those 4 key elements, because it has to resonate with OHV enthusiasts. It needs to resonate with the general public, and in most cases, it needs to resonate with public officials. I think all of you have heard the statement that the philosophy should be KISS, which is keep it simple, stupid. But that's very important. You need to keep your mission statements as simple as possible. They need to be able, perhaps, to double as your slogan. And what we have found is when we've looked at mission statements of different organizations across the country, the short, concise mission statements are far more memorable and far more effective than rambling mission statements. Next slide. In developing your mission statement, you need to consider the long term as well as the short term. And the short term can be much more specific, but you'll probably have to revise it more often. And I often use an example that we started a club in the county where I live in Florida, where we had no legal riding area, and we wanted to have a legal place to ride within the county. And basically, we put that into our mission statement, but it required a lot of steps to get to that point. Obviously, we had to get the county commission to support it. We had to participate in an advisory committee to get the commission to approve it. We had to work to get appropriations. We had to work to get grants. We had to make sure that the construction was funded and the construction was completed. We finally got to a grand opening, and when we finally got to that grand opening, we were looking back and we said, do you realize we've been at this for 10 years before we actually got it? So in that case, it was a long-term thing. And actually, what we then did when we reached that point, we changed our mission statement to be that we were going to expand the existing park, because we had achieved the park, we had a legal place to ride. Now we wanted it to be a bigger place to ride. when we say, excuse me, when we say that you need to be testing your mission, basically, as you're developing your mission statement, you need to share it with other people, and you need to encourage input from other people, not only people that are in your core group, but people that are in that population that you're trying to attract to become part of your club or part of your association. And you need to be willing to make changes as necessary to make sure that mission statement adapts to the conditions that develop. And you need to be willing to revise as you develop draft mission statements, and typically it's going to take more than one draft. You need to revise it as necessary. Next slide. Here's an example of a couple of mission statements. I'm not going to read through them. I think that what you might take away at looking at these two mission statements, and both of them are good. I'm not criticizing either of them, but I would think that probably the reaction that you would have to the first mission statement would be that it seems to be long and it seems to be rather flowery in terms of the words that are used, and maybe something along the lines of the second mission statement, which is very short and to the point, might be more concise and might be more usable as a mission statement. Next slide, Jeff.
Just a reminder that we will get to all your questions at the end. But the next thing we're going to talk about is goals. Once you have your vision and your mission set, it's important to set goals so that you can work towards your mission and hopefully deal towards that idyllic vision that you've established. When we're dealing with goals, we talk about SMART goals. These are goals that are specific. That means that they're detailed. They're not too broad that there's any doubt whether you've reached that goal or not. Measurable means that they need to be quantifiable. There needs to be some sort of measure of success, again, usually set by numbers. The goals need to be attainable, so they need to be within your grasp, something that you can complete. And they need to be realistic, as much like your mission. Relevant, they should be relevant to your mission, they should be relevant to your mission, your vision, and they should be relevant to what your club hopes to accomplish. Goals need to be time bound, meaning that there should be a deadline set with them. And there also should be progress checks, some dates that you can stop and say, am I working towards my goal? Am I making progress? It's important to write your goals down and display them. That sets up accountability. So you have to look at those goals and remember that you've made a commitment to get to that point. When setting goals, it's important to break big goals down into smaller ones. Like I said earlier, you need to have progress checks. You need to have steps to get there. You can't just have A and then a question mark and then C. You need to know what the steps are to reach your goals. Make an action plan. So an action plan will detail what the goal is, when it should be completed by, and who is responsible for the steps in that goal. There should be a point person identified for each step in getting to that goal. Always work towards your goals as soon as possible. Procrastination does not help anybody. It won't help a club, and putting things off just keeps you from working towards your mission. Next slide, please. Share your goals with others to establish accountability. Could be your agency partners, could be other clubs, whoever's got a stake in the goal. Have them help you out, have them keep you on track. Make sure your goals are exciting. If it's not something you're passionate about, you're not going to work towards them. You're going to put them off, and you won't work towards them at the earliest point possible. It's important to use positive language in your goals. So don't set a goal that kind of seems like a downer. If it's not positive language, it's not going to make you as passionate about the goal. It's important to set goals in multiple areas. You don't want to get tunnel vision and just set one kind of goals. You got to look at your mission and everything that it entails and set goals that help you reach that mission. So, internal organization goals could include keeping your membership at a certain level, or reaching a certain number of members within a year, or recruiting a certain numbers in a period of time. It could be, having so many fun rides a year. There are different type of internal organizational goals, but they are very important. Use and access goals. So opening that new riding area, or if you set a goal to get the trailhead built for your new riding area, or to get so many miles of trail outlined, those can be your use and access goals. Your legislative goals are going to be your goals that affect state statute or code, and those goals will improve OHV recreation access and experience. So that could be getting more funding for your program or for your grants, or getting allowing safety training in your state to have more responsible users, or getting a decal that collects more money for your OHV program. It's important to set performance goals, not outcome goals, and always measure the achievements by what is within your sphere of influence. So on this page, we have some examples of goals. I'll just read the first one. So the goal was conducting educational contacts with 100 OHV enthusiasts and educating them in proper behavior while operating their vehicles over Memorial Day weekend 2019. We all know Memorial Day is a big OHV weekend, a big camping weekend. Seems like an appropriate time. You have some measure in there, so you want to reach 100 people, and when when it's over. At the end of the week, Memorial Day weekend, you have to measure your progress. The second goal is a little bigger goal, talking about identifying hazard area conditions and reporting the illegal behaviors of some irresponsible users to the state forest. So you can see it's broken down into smaller goals. And again, these goals are measurable, and they have a deadline, and they are all attainable. Next slide. With your goals, it's important to celebrate your successes. Don't get hung up on just the end product, but make sure that you are celebrating those step goals, those progress checks, that you're reaching milestones, and that you're proud of your progress to the point. It's always important to review your goals, whether you reached them or you didn't reach them. If the goal was easier to reach, it's probably time to set something harder. Raise the bar, go for the next step. If you didn't reach your goal, you need to take a look at it and decide what is a more realistic goal or set of goals that we can attain. So, NOHVCC has some more resources that can be helpful for people starting clubs, developing clubs, or just looking for a refresher for their club. One of the first things we want to talk about is our board. Our board is comprised of what is called issue area representatives, and we have an IAR dedicated just to club and association issues. His name is Harry Brown. He's from New Hampshire, and he's been vital in improving the OHV opportunities as well as the clubs in New Hampshire. And he's found that the successful trails go hand in hand with successful clubs. He's the board member tasked with assisting clubs and associations with trending issues, and he can assist you by forming ad hoc committees made up of OHV experts to work on those issues. We make our committees from our contacts as well as our network of state partners, and they get together and they work on a solution for the problems you bring to us. Another item that we do have is our club and association startup kit, which is absolutely free to have emailed to you. And it goes into a little bit of what we talked about tonight, and then a lot more depth on what it takes to start your club. To get either of those resources, to get in touch with Harry or to get a club startup kit, you just need to email trailhead@novvac.org. So that is the quick run through of a portion of what NOHVAC deals with when we talk about club and association startup and development. We're going to take some time now to answer your questions. And we want to thank everyone for joining us if you have to sign off, but we will stick around and answer the questions that have been put into the chat box. And we want everyone to remember that we are reachable and we are willing to help with any of your club and association issues. You can reach us by emailing trailhead@novac.org or calling 800-348-6487. So with that, we are going to go back to the questions. And Bob Maidson had the first question. And I'm going to pass this to Jeff because this is Jeff's specialty area. And Jeff, you see the question here. It's what approach do you recommend in marketing your club? And they're talking about a Facebook versus a domain named website.
Yeah, I think you need to have both. As you know, most people are checking Facebook multiple times per day. That's really a good way to kind of get any relevant information out if anything's happening recently or coming up. Websites are good to have kind of all your base information, so what you're about, contact information. You can still post events up on there as well, but people aren't going to necessarily check your website on a daily basis. Usually, kind of go there, figure out what you're all about, how to get in touch, get all the basics, like I said. But, forums, internet forums were really popular like 10 years ago, but even most of those have kind of died out with the exception of a few really large ones. But I know most of the clubs in Arizona, pretty much all their communication has gone through Facebook now. It's really simple to set up. It's easier than trying to maintain a website. I think having a website is good, like I said, if you're trying to actually get a legitimate club off the ground and to have that in place. But trying to reach your members and new members is going to be a lot easier using social media, especially, like I said, Facebook. And if you're doing like a lot of photos, then Instagram also comes into play with that. But I would recommend having both, but definitely put a good effort into the social media aspect of it.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
The second question is, can a 501c7 social and recreational club nonprofit apply for grant monies?
It depends.
The answer there, it depends. And some programs will let you and some won't. Jack, you got something to add to that?
Well, each state is different. When I say each state, there's usually two sources of grant funding. One would come through the Recreational Trails Program, which is federally funded but state administered. And again, each state has different rules for their RTP, and some will not allow a C7 to apply, and others will. And that's one thing you need to research if you're going to be starting a club, that you need to look into, because if you're going to be applying for grants, the form that you take with your corporation needs to be in accordance with what is required in your state. The other major source of funds within a state is if you have an OHV registration or titling program. There will usually be an OHV program that will have a grant program that is separate from the RTP program. That is totally state run. The rules are determined by the states, exclusively by the states. And again, it depends. Different states have different rules, and you need to look into that in whatever state you're located in.
Again, we got another one for Jeff here.
Yeah. Are there agency partners in Arizona that we can contact? Jeff?
Yeah, it depends. I think it depends on where you're at and who you're working with. First of all, like I said, up here in the northern country, it's pretty much exclusively forest land, so we have good contacts in the Forest Service. But just on kind of a statewide level, most of the funding that we're working with is cycled through Arizona State Parks, and they would be a good contact if you're just trying to start getting funds established and working on using some of the OHV decal money. BLM is really big down in the Valley and Southern Arizona, and we can obviously get you in touch with BLM contacts down there. Like I said, I think it depends on where you're at. Arizona also has a lot of NOHVCC state partners and club partners. So if you look on the NOHVCC website, you can kind of see a list of all of our partners, and there's a pretty good amount here in Arizona already.
Yeah, and if you need some follow-up on that topic, just go ahead and shoot an email to Trailhead, and we'll get it over to Jeff, and he can provide you with some of his contacts. The next question is, can you give an example of a slogan-based mission statement? And I'm going to go ahead and use creating a positive future for off-highway vehicle recreation. That's NOHVCC's mission. It's our slogan. It's on everything that we do.
I think
hey, Mark, this is Dwayne. I would just
go ahead, Dwayne.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in here, but and you might, we think that's a good slogan-based mission for NOHVCC, but our role is national in scope and broader in mission. So the slogan for a club that's a smaller group for a smaller area might not be so expansive in terms of just creating a positive future. It could be something like, more riding opportunities in Phoenix or something like that. But I might have bungled that, so I'll defer to Jack.
No, that's the line that I was going down. I think that, if you're going to be a state association, your mission statement might be that you want to act as the unified voice for OHV recreation in, put the state name on the end of it. Or if your primary focus might be trail riding or OHV recreation on a specific national forest, you might have a mission statement to expand and maintain enjoyable OHV experiences on trails in the XYZ national forests. So, I mean, those could be relatively short mission statements that may be appropriate to a local club or a group that's not looking, shall we say, statewide.
Okay, good stuff.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
We're getting some good questions, but from one other person. But I want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to ask questions too. So if you have questions or if you're just enjoying the conversation, that's fine. But please don't be shy about using the chat feature to pop in a question if you have anything you need answered. Sorry, Mark.
No problem. The next question, Jeff, I'm going to have you follow up with Bob on this, and it's kind of Phoenix specific question. So Bob, we're not ignoring your question, but we're going to reach out directly to you and try and help you find some facilities that will help you get your club organized. And then the last question, a lot of people are not tech savvy enough for websites or don't do Facebook for a Facebook closed group. How do we address the tech savvy issue? Jeff, I'm going to have you start that one.
Sure. That's a kind of a problem that comes up quite a bit. And it's a tough one to kind of answer really succinctly, but I think you really kind of do need to have some sort of media presence. I mean, you can still use email. Email is still a good way to get in touch with members. We still use it in our clubs here. CTR and PTR sends out monthly emails for when they're doing meetings. So both the clubs I belong to do monthly meetings, so you can kind of keep in check with what's going on, and that's just a simple email reminder. They still both have Facebook as well, and really the way that's gone is they just find someone in the club that volunteers to take on that role. If you're trying to do everything just by yourself and social media is maybe not your strong point, then reach out to your club members and find out who's willing to take it on. And dealing with, social media can be pretty daunting at first, but once you kind of get the hang of it and really just spend a little bit of time on it, creating events and just doing simple posts really does not take too much time and isn't too complex to do. And that's really the base of what you need to do if you're just trying to reach club members and, like I said, get things organized. And that's really kind of what we're using social media for the most in our clubs, is getting information out, setting calendar events, and just kind of following up on topics.
I still belong to one club that continues to do a written newsletter every month, and they mail it out, and the cost is quite exorbitant, but there's a few people that really enjoy it. That's still an avenue to go if you want to look into it. But more and more people have relied on technology, social media, and email to get their news. Do we have any other questions? Okay, I need to let everybody know that this recording of the webinar will be available on our website in the next few days. Unless Laura leaves on vacation before it's up, then it'll be up there in a couple weeks, but it won't be long. So it'll be available to your club members, to you to listen to again, anybody that couldn't make it tonight. I also want to mention that we are going to do a repeat of this webinar next month because we had so much demand for it and it filled up in a day. So if there was somebody that couldn't make it tonight and they'd like to join us, we'll be repeating this webinar next month. And again, we want to thank everyone for joining us and hope to see you on future webinars throughout the year.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Great job, guys.